Welcome back to another episode of Pain Points, where the world meets business.
You're right, man. You sound sleepy on a Monday.
It's the waves in the background, guys.
The waves.
You hear that?
My man was meditating before this.
High frequency playlist, baby. But this is the Pain Points podcast, where the world meets business, where we tackle the ever-changing landscape of entrepreneurship. I'm Darius Bell, one half of the team here, along with Samson Jagoras.
What's up?
My main man on this earth here. That's like a really strong statement.
That was really deep, man. Thank you.
A main man on this earth.
You are one of my main men, though.
Yeah,
you know that.
Exactly.
Right? When you make it into my short list on the quick dial on iPhone,
I'm with you.
Yeah, you're one of my main men.
Exactly. If you're in top 6 or top 9, you're done.
Yeah. There's a few people you can call at like 1 or 2 in the morning. And they would just be like, I got you. I'm there.
So,
what's up, man? Well, first off, let's kick it real quick. How was the weekend? Good?
The weekend was good.
Yeah.
It was really good, but it was deep, reflecting on our business and doing things there, and honestly taking a real honest look at some things in the world. Not the content and the machine, but what are the ramifications of what's happening? Yeah. Where are we heading? Like, we have to fathom that as Americans. Like, where are we actually heading? So I spent some time doing that, talking about that with my wife, my kids, just having real conversations. So it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, it's good. I didn't spend as much time going deep on the world, but we were opening up our new training facility this weekend. 35,000 square feet, soft opening. It was bananas.
35,000 square feet.
Yeah, we had to move lots of equipment Thursday and Friday, get it all settled in. So I woke up on Saturday feeling like I fought a bear. We had 30 people. Yeah, 30 people there moving, cleaning, getting everything ready for Saturday soft open. But, man, it went off so good. Well, so no complaints.
So, and we're here.
Yep.
So we're here. And, guys, if you tune into the pod from 2 weeks ago, we made a pivot in our format. And so we're going quick. We're going fast. We're staying in the lane that we need to be to best effectively serve you as you're building, as your attention is being vied for like crazy. So we're going to hop in. We're going to dive in. We're going to swim. And we're going to get out with you guys. And we're all going to get back to building our businesses. And so a quick rundown, we're going to jump into entrepreneurship, and we're going to talk marketing and brand, finish off with a little dash of culture. And so this first one here it's a clip from Brian Tracy, who you're probably familiar with. A lot of people are familiar with. He's been around he's an OG.
Yeah, he is
at this point, triple OG at this point. And he talks about 95% of your thinking being shaped by your company. And so I wanted to pull this up as we head into Q4, Q1 2025. If you're wrestling with some things and you're not sure and it ain't where it needs to be, one place you might need to look is your company. And not your literal company, but your company. Yeah. The company you keep.
Yep.
So, I muted it here.
Most people, the bottom 80%, are lazy. And it's something that it's not polite to talk about. And they're surrounded by people who think the same way. As much as 95% of your thinking is determined by the people that you associate with.
That's a significant percentage.
If you associate with people who don't work hard, don't learn, socialize after work, then you become like them. You think like them, you talk like them, you dress like them, you marry them. And so you're married to someone who also has no ambition. And you raise children, and your children have no ambition. Just go to work and complain about your work. But top people associate with other top people. There is what you've heard about the law of attraction.
So I'll pause it there. But 95%, his claim is 95%. The validity of that, I don't know. But we obviously know it's significant if we just look at our own lives and you guys as listeners. For me, I was just thinking through, if you're at certain points in your company where it's not ideal, your family is not ideal, your health is not ideal, your finances, putting the challenge out there to start tracing it back. Who are the voices, the people getting your time and attention besides that are shaping that, And so,
I mean, there's sayings that exist for a reason, right? There's the saying that show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future. And that's exactly what he's referring to. One of the things I see really commonly is people are making the transition from being employees, career professionals, to entrepreneurship, is everybody around them thinks they're crazy. You start talking about starting a business, buying a business, and all of a sudden people are like, why would you ever want to do that? or that sounds really hard, or that sounds expensive, and ooh, entrepreneurship's really risky. And my first piece of advice is you got to find your friends. And that's a lot of why what we do, where we create community in and around entrepreneurship through acquisition, is so those people can find their tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Right. So I have a tendency to just cut those people out. Or you ever hang out with couples and your wife's like, oh, they're just such a sweet couple. And I'm like, nah, I'm not about it. And it's like, why? Why am I not about it? When I am hanging out with my wife's friend's husband and I say, what's up? And he's, what's new? He's like, man, not much, man, just working. I'm like, okay, we have nothing to talk about. Because my friends are like, we're building this. We're working on that. We're grinding on this. We're struggling with that. We got this new opportunity we're building over here, right? And everything is just positive growth, moving forward, excited about the future. But a lot of people, what he's saying, are actually, it's not even laziness. It's comfort. They're just comfortable just cruising through life the way that it is. And it's real easy to play armchair quarterback, bitching about everything that's going on in the world, and this and that, and not actually have to do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, and the other piece that I think in light of that example too is like, he didn't even have anything to say, right? That person. He's like, no, nothing. It's not that he's not even doing the same thing. It's that he's not doing anything.
No ambition, no aspiration beyond just wake up, do the same thing every day, die one day.
Yeah. And so 95% of people, let's just take Brian Tracy, 95% of how you think, and therefore 95% of the decisions you ultimately make, the quality of them, will be shaped by the company you keep. Important in business, but why I pulled it in was not only important to the business, but even this year, like election stuff. People, if you like, that just struck me like, wow, 95%. No wonder there's so much groupthink on certain sides, and it's just like, because literally you're with these same people.
And they have a really hard time going against the crowd, thinking for themselves.
But look out for that person who has the courage to change the company they keep.
100%.
So yeah, that's why I let off with that, just because we're always thinking about that and the decisions we're making and the impact of it. Well, let's look outside of ourselves at the company we keep, and that even includes people in the company, right?
Correct.
Because you spend 8, 10, 12, 15 hours a day with these people.
That's why we always say culture drives the vision sets the culture, and the culture drives the company. Bingo. And so those people will dictate how you win or lose.
Well, if you're wondering how do I go about doing that, Naval Ravikant has some great input on how you actually go about changing the people around you.
And I would say to startups, like, don't spend your time doing meetings unless you really, really have to. I really think networking is overrated. There's all these articles about like, oh, you got to network more, and this is how you build. It makes me want to vomit, right? Go do something great, and your network will instantly emerge. If you build a great product, or if you get a good customer base, I guarantee you we will get you funded. You will not have to go take internal meetings, building relationships years in advance. All that meeting stuff you're doing, shaking hands, do it for recruiting. Do it to learn from really, really smart people, but you got to make sure you have something to offer them too. Otherwise, you're just taking.
So obviously he's talking about startups, but the principle applies of like, go out and do what you got to do. Do it. Be out there. And the people who are about that, they will come around. You will see them.
Brother, I've watched way too many people going to the next, 10X conference. They're taking the next webinar, they're reading the next book, they're going to the next meetup. And there's a lot of motion, but very little progress. And if more people just put their head down and actually went to work on building a great product and a great business, it's like a cover up for actually not having to do the work. It's like, if I just go out there and I like show people that I'm here and I'm in business, then they'll start to believe that I'm great, versus actually going and making something that's great.
Well, and it's also because you don't believe that you're great.
Yeah, I think it's also just a lack of understanding about what it actually takes to go and grow a business and a company.
Yeah, and it feels like you did something.
Yeah,
it can
motion progress. I can sit here and spin in a circle and I'm moving, but I'm not going anywhere.
I talked about leads, but it doesn't mean I have them.
Exactly. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to spend less time doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that's Naval's go do something, and the people will show up. So Eric Schmidt, who's a prolific entrepreneur,
Yep. Former Googler, right?
Yep. Well, he has an interview that's, I think it's like an hour and a half long, that's starting to blow up. Some significant entrepreneurs started sharing it on X, but there were clips floating around last week, and he has two clips here. He's talking about, first one's about AI, then the second one's going to be about why Google is losing. And it's important for us to wrestle with both of these.
You're going to see very large context windows. In the next year, you're going to see very large context windows, agents, and text to action. When they are delivered at scale, it's going to have an impact on the world at a scale that no one understands yet. Much bigger than the horrific impact we've had by social media, right, in my view. So here's why. In a context window, you can basically use that as short-term memory. And I was shocked that context windows get this long. The technical reasons have to do with the fact that it's hard to serve, hard to calculate, and so forth. The interesting thing about short-term memory is when you feed you ask it a question, read 20 books, you give it the text of the books is the query, and you say, tell me what they say, it forgets the middle, which is exactly how human brains work too, right? That's where we are. With respect to agents, there are people who are now building essentially LLM agents, and the way they do it is they read something like chemistry, they discover the principles of chemistry, and then they test it. And then they add that back into their understanding, right? That's extremely powerful. And then the third thing, as I mentioned, is text to action. So I'll give you an example. The government is in the process of trying to ban TikTok. We'll see if that actually happens. If TikTok is banned, here's what I propose each and every one of you do. Say to your LLM the following. Make me a copy of TikTok, steal all the users, steal all the music, put my preferences in it, produce this program in the next 30 seconds, release it, and in 1 hour, if it's not viral, do something different along the same lines. That's the command. Boom, 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 right? You understand how powerful that is. If you can go from arbitrary language to arbitrary digital command, which is essentially what Python in this scenario is, imagine that each and every human on the planet has their own programmer that actually does what they want, as opposed to the programmers that work for me who don't do what I ask, right? The programmers here know what I'm talking about.
So,
Yeah, it's leveling the playing field. I mean, a very simple example would be look at Canva. Once upon a time, if you wanted to create something of that caliber, you needed to have Photoshop skills. And the Adobe suite was incredibly challenging to navigate between all the different tools and the layers. And I don't even know all the stuff you can ultimately do with it, but it was so overwhelming. And so designers spent literally thousands of hours becoming great at that. Then all of a sudden it was like Canva comes along and they go, hey, anybody can design. You don't have to know how to use Photoshop. In fact, we think Photoshop's dead. And now they're a $20 billion valuation, I believe, privately held to boot. So the ability to change the way that it's done so the person with the lowest level of skill can execute at the highest level is a lot of what AI is going to bring to the table for everybody.
That's great. And that's why I pulled it. You know, obviously it starts off with he's using particular language because he's talking to a room of programmers.
Yep.
But his whole point is that the speed and the advancement that is coming to the person willing to harness it we haven't seen it yet. And this is from someone on the front lines. This is not just Darius pontificating on what he thinks about AI. This is someone who is participating in the emergence of it.
Yeah. So if you use a combination of obviously your own study and learning plus prompting through tools like ChatGPT, you'd be amazed at how much you can actually do. People aren't immersing themselves enough to understand how to prompt and communicate, or even see the evolution of that from like GPT 1.0 to 4.0. It's changed dramatically. It's gotten a lot smarter, obviously, but you can literally watch it write code. I mean, I've done it. Hey, I need to build an equation for X, Y, and Z thing, or I'm underwriting X, Y, and Z business. You know, prompt this for me.
Well, and something I would submit is, in the way that I've changed looking at it over the last probably a month and a half, is in particular with ChatGPT, oh, you want to get interested in this. You want to figure it out because you know it's the future. Well, I don't have time. Okay, well, find the little things that the platform, like a platform like ChatGPT, can actually do for you to make you that much faster to gain back some of that time to spend learning about it.
I think the adoption of AI is going to be exponential like we've never seen because it's being integrated in everyday tools that we use. Google, they have it inside of Gmail now. Mm-hmm. You can use it inside of Google Drive to literally ask it a question like, hey, summarize this 28-page document for me. Boom. It reads the whole thing via PDF reader, spits out. It's you're using it. I have it inside of I think it's called Fireflies, inside of Google Hangouts and Zoom meetings, and it literally recaps the whole meeting for me with action items and everything. Right. So it is definitely a huge advancement. I think some of these jobs like personal assistant and things like that have been hard for some people to obtain because it's cost prohibitive. You won't need it. You'll be able to do 10x more with just AI integration into what you're doing on a daily basis.
Right. And the memory is the key.
Yes.
The memory. I've asked ChatGPT several times, hey, you remember when I was asking you? Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay.
That's wild.
It's like, all right. So moving on from that, here's Eric again with this next clip. He's talking about, this is 1 minute and 30 seconds, and he talks about OpenAI. I believe this is the right clip. I've had several of them. But let's just see. If not, I have the one I actually wanted to share with you guys.
I'm no longer a Google employee. In the spirit of full disclosure, Google decided that work-life balance and going home early and working from home was more important than winning. And the reason startups work is because the people work like hell. And I'm sorry to be so blunt. There's a long history of companies winning in a genuinely creative way and really dominating a space and not making this the next transition. It's very well documented. And I think that the truth is founders are special. The founders need to be in charge. The founders are difficult to work with. They push people hard. As much as we can dislike Elon's personal behavior, look at what he gets out of people. Mm-hmm. I had dinner with him. He was flying that night at 10 p.m. to have a meeting at midnight with X.AI. Think about it. I was in Taiwan, different country, different culture. This is TSMC, who I'm very impressed with. And they have a rule that the starting PhDs, good physicists, work in the factory on the basement floor. Now, can you imagine getting American physicists to do that? The PhDs? Highly unlikely. Different work ethic. And the problem here, the reason I'm being so harsh about work is that these are systems which have network effects. So time matters a lot. And in most businesses, time doesn't matter that much, right? You have lots of time. You know, Coke and Pepsi will still be around, and the fight between Coke and Pepsi will continue to go along, and it's all glacial. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, so so there's a few seconds of that missing where he talks about why Google is losing to OpenAI. And he talked about, you heard the part where you mentioned the work from home, but he talked about how he contrasts that with OpenAI as a startup culture and why they're winning in this battle of technology is that they're not worried about work-life balance and these perks and that perks. And he's just talking about, as you heard, the humility and the effort required to do something and endure it, to do something that is pretty significant. You either resist having it, or you'll lose sight of how important it is to help you continue to maintain your success. And so that's why he was shouting out at Eli.
I think we talk about this a lot. It just happens in every mature company.
Right.
They reach a point of we've arrived. We're the best. Our moat's so big. We don't have to do X, Y, and Z. And that always opens the door, which is the beautiful thing about the game of business, which is it's an infinite game. And people will come and go from the game. There actually are no winners and losers. The only thing that matters is how long can you stay in the game. And Google is a very, very, very mature company, far, far, far removed from the original founders. Mm-hmm. And the people that work there, they go to work there to get the perks, because I can be an engineer, make $450,000, $500,000 a year, get unreal benefits, work from anywhere that I want to. And that's why you go work at Google, right? You're not going there to build anything great. You're going there because it's a comfy job. And the market in general, I think just even young people coming out of school with degrees feel like that's the path, right? This entitled, like, well, I should be able to just board a company like that, not realizing that the game they're playing is capitalism and it's dog eat dog every single day. And we're coming to the end of a cycle. So a lot of these companies that have been around for 20, 30 years, they're old dogs now. OpenAI is absolutely crushing them because they're thinking like a startup. They're nimble. Right. They don't have to rely heavily on perks and benefits. Everybody that's working there is excited about building the future.
Yeah.
And that hits a little different.
Yeah. And as I think about you guys, the listener, you may not be a technology company. You may be a landscaping company or a roofer. But that same grit, that same, like, I can endure this. I can be nimble. I can, sometimes nimble, people think nimble is like light but yes, but it's also the ability to move and move. There's a certain fluidity to nimbility. And
Darius is just making up words. I see it in, so to that point, we're buying an excavation company right now. That company's doing great. 12 million a year top line, huge contracts. They still run like a small little business, right? And why is that? The owner will tell you it's because I'm writing myself a check for a couple $1 million a year. I don't need to grow. I don't want to grow. So he just is cruising. He'll be the first one to tell you that.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy to go do it. That's why I'm selling it to you young guys to come in and grow this thing to the next level. Take it to 20 or $30 million a year.
Yeah. And it's the internet. You see what I put up there? Just so you guys know, that is a word.
Nimbility is a word that he just made up.
And Chat and Google AI created the page for me in 10 seconds. But that grit, man. Like, I just wanted to post that clip too. It's a battle. It's a competition, and it is dog eat dog. And the internet and the sexification of entrepreneurship has, I think it at periods of time, it tries to lull us to sleep as owners to realize, like, no, it's actually not going to be easy.
Well, there's so much talk over the last, I'm going to say 10 years, passive. Build a passive YouTube channel, build a passive Instagram page, passive real estate ownership. Yes, it is somewhat passive. You technically can get into a passive real estate, but the market is always shifting. It's always changing. So if you're going to be a passive investor, make sure you're aligned with people who are in the game and like nimble and really working. There's a large multifamily real estate group out there called Tides. I mean, and they were the Cinderella, the belle of the ball for the last 10 years, crushing it. I mean, their portfolio is massive. Well, guess who's seeing the most foreclosures? Guess who's seeing the top of the real deal with all the announcements of all their properties going under? It's those guys, right? Because the market shifted and they weren't necessarily ready for it.
They were nimble.
So they didn't have their nimbility in check. So that's the game. I mean, I think the truth be told, the market will always change. There'll always be a downturn. Winter's always coming. You always have to be looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
And if you want to be an entrepreneur and you're not into that, then, run your season, sell your business and move on.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a hard time keeping a business in perpetuity.
Good. Patrick Bet-David talks a lot about the need for paranoia.
Yes, correct.
So, all right. It's funny. I've been working on not saying so. Caught myself saying it. So. This next one is a clip from, I forget the guy's name, not Ben Horowitz. Actually, it might be Ben Horowitz.
It is Ben Horowitz.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
and this is in line with what we were just talking about.
No, it's this one. It's actually this clip right here. It's the guy, Chris Jones. He's a partner at SVPG, which is, I believe, real estate out the Midwest. And he's talking about why companies lose their customer obsession over time. And I thought this was a good one to come off of the back of Eric Schmidt.
Companies will start off doing the right thing, being, really just rabidly customer focused and the right people doing the right sort of thing. But then when things begin to scale, they feel like in order to hold on to that magic, they need to start putting processes in place. They need to make this, they're trying to encode what they did before in order to make it repeatable, or worse, they're trying to take somebody else's process and say, okay, if we do this, this is actually how we scale. And it gives them just a fundamental sense of control and predictability. In fact, though, as I'm sure you found, it really runs the other way. So some of it has to do with the control and predictability. Some of it has to do with stopping trusting the teams, that the teams are actually going to do the right sort of thing. That lack of trust may be deserved. It may not. So yeah, there's all sorts of reasons, and it's a hard thing to get out of. Companies will start off doing the right thing.
They over process their way away from that personal touch. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, I had to. So I'll give you an example. If you don't know who CenturyLink is, it was a huge internet phone company here in Colorado. They were huge nationally. They're pretty much the main provider for DSL internet. And so this new building that we just bought, the only thing that currently services it is DSL. I called them. I had them do an install. There was one phone line and one DSL line. I needed a third phone line. So I asked them to install 2 phone lines. They showed up, told me that they did it. Turns out they didn't do it. Why do you need 2 phone lines? Because they run the fire system and you need a redundancy. So I had to call back in and try to get a new phone line installed. I'm not exaggerating. I was on the phone for 4.5 hours with 3 different departments, and nobody actually knew what they were supposed to do. And even worse, they had no urgency to get me in and fix the problem so that I could open the building with a TCO. They pushed me out 3 weeks. And then to make it worse, they charged me again to have them come out and do the install. Like mind blowing, right? Because there's like, well, this is just our process. I can't book it without charging you for this. So it's going to be another $180 to have somebody come on site. It's like, I already paid you for that and you didn't do the work, right? So that's an example of what happens. I don't know how you get past it, because there is a certain point when the company gets big. One of the examples that I could maybe look to that I think does it really well in if you look at like a large church setting, if it's done really, really well, they have tons of little small groups, because they say the church is really like these little populations of people coming together in a community and kind of working on these things, So at a certain point, you kind of have to like divide and conquer your units and your departments and your revenue streams into these smaller little units that can then keep that same level of personal touch in order to keep it, connected with the customer. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, and what I gleaned from what Chris Jones was saying, who, by the way, I had it mixed up with a commercial real estate company out of the Midwest. Okay. SVPG is Silicon Valley Product Group. Got it. So he's a partner in essentially a startup incubator, different things. But is customer obsession will wane when it first wanes in leadership. Yeah. And that's what I got from what he was saying. Because if you think about it, Jeff Bezos, Elon, these people who are known for building products that are focused on the customer, well, how have they scaled? How have they themselves have not grown weary of focusing on the customer?
Yeah, constantly seeking the feedback, constantly asking for it, using the product. And so like Elon on Twitter is a good example.
Yeah, and so one side is like definitely have your systems, people, and process in place that nurture that, but it will just as quickly go if now you kick your feet up and you're like, oh, they'll take care of it. They'll take care of it.
Yep.
I got long arms, so hit the camera, guys. So I thought that was a great piece, just a reminder. If it will flow from the founders. This next one here you brought is...
Yeah, this is good. So this is important for raising money. So entrepreneurs, this is important to you, but it's also important in sales. Bring up the whole concept is the best offense is a great defense. So I'll let this speak for itself, and then we'll add some color to it. Yeah.
Students ask me about fundraising, and the advice I give to them is the same advice I would give if you're selling anything, which is to make an offense deck and a defense deck. Let me use an example for fundraising. So the offense deck is the kind of things you think about. It's all the reasons why someone should invest in your business. You should have those down. You should know what those are. You should be able to give evidence and tell stories about those things. The defense deck are all the reasons someone's going to say no, the reasons they're going to pass. I don't have experience. I don't have a track record. They have some questions about your business model. You should list out those as well. If you spend 10 minutes, you'll be able to get all the reasons. People aren't going to ask you a question you haven't thought of typically. But here's the thing that most people miss. You actually want to bring up the defense deck in the meeting. You want to bring up the objections and you want to overcome them in the meeting. A lot of times entrepreneurs think they walk out of the room like, oh, good, my lack of track record didn't come up. Thank God. It might not have come up in the meeting, but it's going to come up when you're not in the room, and it's going to be the reason they pass. So go right at the defense deck. And I think that's what a lot of people miss about fundraising. A lot of times my students...
You want to know what the worst objection to get in sales is?
What is it?
The one the customer never tells you.
Let's go.
Right? So that's the truth.
That's
so if you know you're new to the game, you don't have as many reviews, you have a new product, you're building a new marketplace, you're whatever, own that and say, hey, we get it. We understand X, Y, and Z things might make you leery or weary. That's okay. Here's how, we're making our product better. Here's how we're improving the market. We understand that, right? And here's what we're willing to do to overcome that. But they can't, I always said too, like, think of it a different way. People can't make fun of you if you're making fun of yourself. If I make fun of myself, sometimes when I talk on podcasts, I was like, man, you sound like an idiot, like you sound dumb. You say a lot.
Yeah,
and we roast each other. We make fun of each other. So you can't hurt my feelings in the comments for all of you watching this, because we're in the background roasting each other more than you would ever know. So that's the whole concept.
It's really true. I love it too, because what it says to the audience is you thought about them.
That's good.
It says you thought about them, man. That's really good.
That's the brand guy in you.
It's true. All right. So this next one here is brand evangelism with Sam Altman. And you sent this one, so let's see what Sam has to say. He's always a wealth of knowledge.
Startup has got to be the person that is going to recruit, sell the product, talk to the press, raise money. And this requires someone who can infect with enthusiasm the whole world about what the company is trying to do. And someone who becomes the chief evangelist for the company, it's very hard to succeed wildly without that. It's very hard to build a team at all without being able to do that. Someone at the startup has got to be the person that is...
So this is actually a marketing thing, and you hear me talk about this a lot, but founders who are not out there creating content, they're not out there in the community doing the networking, they're not leading the charge on the capital raise, they're not frontlines inspiring people through the content that they create, the way they communicate with their teams, like all of those things are ultimately going to come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
You are the face of the brand.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm just gonna be candid with you guys. Like, this video is extremely stirring, and I won't say convicting. It's conviction filling to me because of my role in our company. Yeah, and the thoughts that I think about, and I very much am aware of this. And sometimes in the work, you can lose sight of that. But this just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I'm not gonna lie, real time on the pod, guys. Like, because I know it, and it's just encouraging, because sometimes you like are hot on that and you're doing it, but there's reasons why it wanes. But I ain't gonna lie, it just stirred me up right now. It just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, and this is the hard part this is why we do this stuff. This is the hard part about being an entrepreneur, about running a company, is you're just constantly pulled in different directions. And so we hope that this podcast every week is centering and bringing you back to some truth that you're like, okay, I need to get back on that. I need to do these things.
Yeah, real talk. That's good. All right, so these next few clips, we got about 7 of them as we'll cruise through them.
This one's a thread. The first one's a thread. Okay. So we're going to read it together. Hey. I tagged this one. It's more of a marketing thread. Yeah. But we all kind of know the story of, Nike and Reebok always battling with each other. I think we can all agree that Reebok's the little redheaded stepchild of the shoe industry compared to like a Nike. Yeah. Okay. But I'm going to let you read this one because this is really good and it's marketing focused.
Roger that. So this one comes from Tim Carden on X. He says, in 1996, Reebok paid $50 million to sponsor the U.S. Olympic team and thought they hit the jackpot. But Nike came up with a genius stunt to steal the show and win the Olympics branding war. Here's how Nike outsmarted Reebok at the Atlanta Olympics. Ooh. Okay, slide 1 here, slide 1. Part 1. The 1996 Olympics were set to be a landmark event, not just for athletics, but for marketing too. 10 official sponsors had collectively spent $400 million on sponsorships. So what did this mean for Nike? Well, Nike had to compete without official status. In 1995, Nike's revenue was $4.8 billion. Reebok was close behind with $3.5 billion, and the Olympic showdown could tip the scales. Nike CMO said, "We're going to show you that you don't need to sponsor the Olympics to win it." Reebok, on the other hand, was an official sponsor, but Nike was not going to sit this one out. Their plan, an ingenious, guerrilla marketing campaign. Let's break it down. Step one of the Nike campaign, the Nike Center. Nike constructed a 15,000 square foot hospitality center just 150 yards from the Olympic Village entrance. A 15,000 square foot multi-story glass and steel structure, free for athletes to meet family, relax, and conduct interviews. Step two, billboards galore. Nike purchased 1,000 billboards throughout Atlanta.
Dang.
Wow. One famous slogan read, "You don't win silver, you lose gold." Ooh. The context too. Oh, the context.
So good.
Ooh, total outdoor ad spending for this, $5.79 million, far exceeding any official sponsor who focused on traditional avenues. These ads were everywhere except Olympic venues themselves. Nike estimated 632 million impressions from this outdoor campaign, and their biggest winner was the spotlight on star athletes. Despite Reebok being the official sponsor, athletes were free to choose their footwear. The most iconic, Michael Johnson's gold shoes in the 400-meter final. You all have seen those, right? You've seen those, right?
Oh, yeah.
The gold shoes?
It was the first picture, too, and he's hanging them on his neck.
Yeah. Nike swoosh was on those bad boys. Johnson not only won gold, but smashed a world record. The image of him in his golden shoes became iconic. It was splashed across newspapers and TV screens worldwide. Nike couldn't have asked for better publicity. Step 4 of their plan was flags for fans. Nike produced thousands of branded flags and distributed them free to spectators entering Olympic venues. TV cameras panned across seas of Nike swooshes in the stands, a clever workaround of rules prohibiting non-sponsor ads inside venues. Bro.
It's so good, huh?
That's so good. A study found that 22% of Americans thought Nike was an official sponsor, so it worked for sure.
Got him.
Only 16 correctly identified Reebok as a sponsor. Nike sales rose 22% following the games. Their ambush marketing strategy paid off spectacularly, but it wasn't without fallout. Reebok was understandably frustrated. They sued the Atlanta Organizing Committee for failing to protect sponsor rights. The case was settled out of court, but there's a key learning here. Spending money on ads does not equal successful branding. Often the best branding is free, and the lesson is more applicable today than ever. Good job, Tim Carden. Great job. That's really
He goes on to talk about paid media, though.
Yeah. Paid media is getting seriously expensive. Platforms are getting saturated with companies who don't know any better. Meanwhile, the consumers are getting tired. When was the last time you saw an ad you didn't scroll past?
We talk about that. So we're constantly
lot.
talking about just authentic story and content winning today.
That's really
if you run
good.
paid ads like that suck people in that they don't even realize they're watching an ad, you've already won.
That's really good, man. I would be interested to note, I'm going to try to make a mental note to look at how Nike was running their company at this time period and who was involved. Because that scrappy nature, they're the big dog now, you know. So it'd be interesting to see who.
So you want to hear another story about Reebok getting killed? So I think it was 6 years ago at the CrossFit Games. So there's a company called Noble. They make a really good cross training shoe, right? So you said, yeah. Everybody knows about them now, right? Here's the part you don't know. The guy who created Noble was originally a shoe designer for Reebok. And he brought that shoe to Reebok to get it designed. And they said, we're not going to create that. Yeah. So he left and created his own. Well, right before the CrossFit Games, it's always been the Reebok CrossFit Games, right?
I remember that.
Noble, and I know they did this on purpose. They won't come out and say it, but they leaked an unreal discount code. They leaked it, and the network effects took off, and people were buying shoes.
Like for Nike or for
Noble.
Okay.
So Noble leaked a coupon code that was something like 70% off the shoe or something like that. Ooh. So people were buying up these Nobles, and after it went on, they released this email to everybody who bought shoes, and they said, hey, this was just supposed to go out to a handful of people. We're so sorry, but we're gonna honor what you guys bought. but we only ask one thing. You stop by the Noble booth at the CrossFit Games, and you take a photo with us. And that was it. That was a wrap. That would put Noble on the map, and they've been probably the top cross trainer shoe since then.
That gave me goosebumps, man.
So good.
That's really
They made it seem like they leaked it, and everybody who had it was exclusive, right? And it was like there's a good book called Blue Fishing. It was the blue fishing effect, where like you had to know somebody who had the code. And I remember our whole gym bought Nobles. Everybody's walking around with multiple pairs of Nobles because they're like 70% off. So like I get 2.
Dude, that was a serious story. That was really good.
Got him.
That's good. Dude.
You talked about this at the Super Bowl this last year,
Right.
where all these people were spending money on commercials,
Right.
not realizing that during the commercial break, people were looking at their phone.
Dude, I have so many pictures of my nephews who are all teenagers and older men, literally at their phones during the game. Yeah. During the game, they're just peeking up occasionally.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, that was a really good. Good job, Tim Carden. Great job. Good post. All right, so follow up on that. These next ones are short, brief things that take that authenticity that he's talking about, that take that creativity, and we're just going to look at different ways that it's playing out on social today. This first one, I don't love the content, how it plays out, but it works if you were the person selling this chocolate. So I titled it, "This is one way to sell a chocolate." Ready?
I'm going to be trying a chocolate skibbity toilet.
Gross.
Skibbity toilet. Skibbity toilet. Skibbity toilet. Skibbity toilet.
Okay, so the thing is, I don't even know. First of all, I haven't looked at the product, but let's just say the product is a skibbity toilet. You're going to sell some of those because it subconsciously links the experience. It links the consumption of the product with some experience that I'm going to have, either like Homeboy or something else. And that's a great move. I just don't know what he was thinking doing that.
Well, like it says, this guy needs to be banned from the internet. Hey, one of the reasons why we bring marketing content to you guys is because marketing is one of the most cool, creative parts of entrepreneurship. But marketing embodies sales, it embodies product, service, growth, operations, finance, and leadership. And so we're just trying to spark ideas.
Yeah, 100%.
To help you guys think outside the box.
Oh, that was good. All right, this next one, Buffalo Bills, NFL team. If you don't know what the NFL is, football, American football. Well, they have a really famous quarterback, Josh Allen, he's a great player, but they're leveraging. One, this is a random clip, but also if you know his background being Wyoming and being counted out, and he has that hometown feel. He's not quite the rock star quarterback. So they're just playing into it with having him do a milk tasting challenge.
You promise? You swear? On our friendship? Say, I want to hear you say it. They're not lying. You can drink whole milk, you know? That's 2%.
Ooh, close.
He's close. He tastes it again.
Ooh, never mind. Is that reduced fat?
Yep, got it.
Got it. Right? See that kind of authenticity, right?
1%. That's 1%? Yeah, that's what I said. It's the 1%. That's, try that again. Ready? What's up, guys? I'm trying milk. 1%. Ooh. Is that like half and half? I don't like that one. That one tastes like butter. Is it butter? No, that's heavy cream. Heavy cream.
So obviously not the toilet seat guy, but it works, right? It works for their brand.
Well, the content brings you in.
Exactly.
It aligns with his personality. They're not trying to make him be something that he's not.
And it's creating that loop, right? It hasn't closed the loop for the listener.
Correct. Every single person wants to know how it finishes and how many he gets right.
Yeah, and also, would I be able to do that?
Yeah.
What's the difference between half and half and heavy? So great job to these guys for doing that. And this next one is, so it's this big old trucker dude who goes around trying hole-in-the-wall Mexican restaurants across the United States. So think about the culture clash.
Saluda, Yakima,
And he's not even in a restaurant to start off with.
Old school punk rocker.
Personality, right?
Clearly loves Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole channel is just him doing this.
Yeah.
Every new Mexican food place.
Yeah, I gotta check out his account and see how many followers he has. But he has enough to get 200,000 on X, right? El Chivo Guerrero. So he probably got. He looks like he's got some Mexican in him, honestly, but maybe not.
Is this his channel right here too on Twitter?
No, this is just someone else who's featuring him.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, very very cool. But the culture clash is what makes it attention grabbing, right?
Yeah, super white guy.
Mm-hmm. This one is, I call this the art of the cover, and you'll see why in a second.
Hey, I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. Hey, in the air.
So I forgot to lead it. It says everyone is happy now apart from one person. So it sets the stage for this one person.
Like I don't care, baby, by the way.
All these happy faces.
I got you. Because clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because clap along if you know.
He's even cooperating.
Everybody's having a good time except for the Karen over there.
So I'll fast forward here.
I'm gonna turn it down now. It was tough. Yes, ma'am.
And they can't talk because of your glasses.
Okay, my bad. Yes, ma'am. I got you. That was actually my last one. Thank you, South Lake, Texas. Thank you, officers.
They didn't even care.
They didn't care. But think about it. As an artist trying to break out in the industry, I took this song that people love, created some content, visual content that enhances that, and it just so happens that by doing that, we create another situation that amplifies it. The whole
There's
thing.
that other group that does that on like Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, I haven't seen
And
those.
you haven't seen these guys? Oh man, they have like one song that they play and they go, "Hey, can you rap or can you freestyle?" Last person that freestyled on this got 1 million views. You think you can beat that? And so some people are like, I can't rap, I can sing. And so then they play the lick and then he sings the intro and then they hand them the mic and they rip.
On the spot.
And their channel is incredible. And their music's really good too.
All right, last two here. This one is about crush. This guy ultimately is going to crush it off the field. He's a free agent punter, Drew Chrisman, but he goes through and chronicles his day as a punter. But there's something else that happens if you watch. So pink zebra. Notice he's got a pink zebra moving shirt on. So if you look at the content throughout all of his moving throughout the day, he has this placement of these pink zebra business cards, which is a moving company. I don't know if he's the founder or not, but even if he is the founder, if he's not the founder, he's positioning his brand and the audience to follow his future company or the growth of his present company while he's trying to chase his dream of being an NFL punter. So it's very interesting. So he's actually in the middle of trying out for teams, but he's placing the company cards everywhere. And he's not talking about the company. And then he finds out at the end here that he didn't make the team. So he heads home.
Back to reality.
Back to reality. And I've seen that pink zebra so much, I want to go see what the heck that is. Does he just work for the company while he's trying to get the NFL contract, or is that his company? So he's doing a great job of building the audience around people who have interest in the topic of football, but also would be like, oh, I want to see what Drew is actually doing. So it's just a great placement of brand and everything.
It's good. I think you're also seeing a rise in awareness around entrepreneurship.
Correct.
Buying businesses amongst the NFL crowd. Real estate's always been a popular topic. But I think, in the next wave, everybody's seen this opportunity of the great wealth transfer beyond just real estate. And real estate's a little toppy right now. So.
True. Last one here. very important for all entrepreneurs as they think about content, they think about product, service, operations, leadership. With this landscape of media, it creates a space for accountability that if you leverage it will actually can lead to success. So this guy here is a food critic, and he goes by Mr. Chime Time, and he did a scathing review of this company, of this little hole-in-the-wall restaurant, and they got fired up. But it started some beef between him and the owner and employees and stuff. And so he comes back a year later to review them, and it's very interesting what happens. I'll skip some of this.
I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going inside this building, and we're going to squash any type of beef that's going on between me and this man. We're going to squash this shit right now. Trying Freckles Chicken in Dallas, Texas.
This is a gas station chicken place, too.
To the point, I came here last year. They seem to be really cool, but the food to me, it simply ain't it. The food was complete. And ever since last year, I've been getting messages like this and this. For those asking, do I take any offense to these messages? Absolutely not. All I see is a business owner upset about my review. That's it. But as you already know, this year I'm going around to some of the restaurants that got bad reviews just to give them a second chance. I received this message from him while being in Dallas.
So the owner reaches out, says, I'd love for you to come back. I'm going to fast forward some of this and skip to their interaction because this is what was really important for us as business owners.
Yeah. Between me and this man. We're going to squash this shit right now.
You hurt my soul. You hurt my heart.
Tell me how you feel, man.
I'm telling you, barely my first year, I just took my balloons down for my second
Yeah.
year. We made it. Most restaurants don't make 6 months.
Yes, sir.
But as a young black man that done face going in banks, they think I'm on some scamming bullshit. I'm trying to start my business. A lot of shit that people don't see. Truck fucked up. Just got that fixed. I don't put no pistol in nobody's mouth. I don't sell no dope. I just stay in my lane. Really thank you. Really thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, because what you did, I stepped it up, made sure I'm doing what I need to do back here.
Yes, sir.
In this kitchen.
Yes, sir. I actually extended. I came here yesterday, and
Truck was messed up.
I understand. Look, brother, I'm gonna tell you this, man to man. I cannot apologize for what happened last year. All right, because last year was ass. It was. I don't say ass. Oh, hold on. I had your shit today. I already had your chicken, night and fucking day. The best fried chicken in goddamn Dallas. I got your messages throughout the whole year talking about my haircut. Leave my haircut alone, bro. Leave my shit alone, bro. Leave my shit alone.
And then
$5,000. Thank you for
gives him
the approval.
$5,000
$5,000.
and hits him with this
All right.
shout out here.
I love you, bro.
I love you.
Yeah.
You really want this?
Right here. Hate me or love me, y'all. Right here. Hate me or love me, y'all. I'm a man of the people, and when it's bad, I'm gonna talk about you. But when it's good, we're gonna praise you. And I think I just had some of the best fried chicken in Dallas, Texas. If you watch this video in Dallas or wherever you are, and you want some good fried chicken, it's inside of this gas station right here. Come check this place out.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah, but the lesson for entrepreneurs of like people are going to tear your product up.
Oh yeah,
and also if you don't understand social media today, you're putting a microscope on a lot of your errors as a product, as a company, as an entrepreneur. But you can embrace it, and you can create relationship with a lot of these creators who are shaping customer attention and desire. So I just thought it was a great piece that had a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, you always need to take into account the feedback you're getting.
Yeah.
Although sometimes it's completely erroneous.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are just out of their gourd, right?
Correct.
And you have to be able to decipher between that. So opening the new facility this week, you experienced some of that, right? It's chaos. It's a soft opening. You're trying to manage your way through door access, people walking in, right? So first one, we have somebody walk in off the street for an open house. Mind you, it's not an open house, right? So they walk in with 5 athletes who all want to work out. So everybody's like thrown off. We weren't there. Somebody at the front desk, nobody experienced that. Mind you, they're minors, so they need to get waivers signed. Mm-hmm. There's one parent, those aren't her 5 kids. So the person's thrown off a little bit, probably not as friendly as they could be. And I kid you not, she writes a dissertation email to one of the staff, to which I respond, like, give her some grace. This is not a trend. I'm not even we shouldn't address it at all because this is an us problem because we had no process for this, right? That's a Karen. Well, she doesn't really come off that way to me. Sure. Don't confuse her demeanor with her being anybody who feels self-righteous enough to write you a dissertation off of one interaction when every other interaction has been excellent is a Karen. So check. The next person wrote a review saying, this place is awesome, but it's too expensive. 3-star. It's like, bro, not everybody gets to drive a Porsche. Everybody wants to drive a Porsche. You want the Kia, you want the Honda Civic, go there, but this is not that. So we actually reached out to him and said, hey man, just so you know, this is never getting cheaper. So here's your opportunity. The opportunity is you don't know what you're talking about because you want free recovery and free cafe. Should we buy your gym clothes for you too? Right? Like you need some context about what exists. You're a little bit jaded because you don't have any other experience with other facilities. And so this is the first anything less than a 5-star review we've ever gotten. So just take that into consideration. And the guy corrected his review, right? So you have to be willing to go to bat for it when people are just completely out of line.
Yeah.
So, but in some cases you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
We all seen the Yelp sign that said, come try the worst, what one person off of Yelp said was the worst pizza they've ever had. You know, so there's tons of way to be creative with it. But this is also why we talk a lot about bolstering up your reviews early days and be capturing them early because you're going to get bad reviews. It's inevitable.
Right.
There's 2 types of businesses, those that have bad reviews and those that will. You can't necessarily please everybody. So you got to be spending time early days to be building your street cred and happy people. 87% of them will write a positive review. We just don't ask. You make one person upset, guess what?
They write like 4 or 5.
4 or 5 of them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it was great just to see how socials is playing a role into that with the rise of these. There's a lot of food reviewers. And so last one here for the entire pod, guys. It's going to be 1 minute or so on some politics. We've kind of took a break on talking about a lot of the politics because it's obvious to see. And yeah, it's just very obvious. But I sure got a kick out of this one here. It came by way of this creator right here. So her name is Mari W _ on TikTok.
There's so many Trump supporters in my comments right now asking me dumb questions like this because they clearly don't understand how the economy works. Let me explain how it's perfectly feasible for Kamala to give everybody free money. If you'll look at this chart behind me, you'll see a weather map, and you can clearly see here that almost every day in the US it rains. Like all over the country it rains. Okay, and what do we know happens after it rains? One of these things pops up. Okay, what Kamala's planning to do is when the rainbow comes up, we're gonna have a task force of people go out to the end of the rainbow where they will find one of these. These kind gentlemen have been giving out pots of gold to us for generations. And what happens is the other politicians have known about this secret and they just take the gold for themselves. Like they don't even share it. But what Kamala's planning to do is pump these pots of gold into the economy and back into the hands of the American people. And I commend her for that.
So good.
So y'all need to get woke, okay? It's time to be unburdened by what has been.
It's so good, dude.
It's time to be unburdened by what is
so good, dude.
Unquote.
Yeah. So anyways, well, that's the pod for today, man.
Oh, man. That was good. We appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for coming and listening to us act a fool sometimes. Yeah. But we hope it's helpful. Help you guys level up, recenter every single week.
Yes.
Get out there and crush it. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, share it with a friend.
Take care.
Peace. I had a feeling when she pulled up the weather map. And then when she said, everybody knows that we're going to send a task force out. And I was like, oh, man, she's going to talk about leprechauns. Yeah.